I want to say a few words about the events in Syria and the impact it's having, obviously, in migration in Europe. We have, all of us, seen the heartbreaking images of refugees from Syria and from some other places, but spurred on principally by what is happening in Syria, streaming into Europe, searching for some measure of security and safety in their lives. And we've seen an unbelievable effort by European countries to step up and to open up their borders in order to accommodate this extraordinary human wave of refugees. We applaud their generosity, and we welcome steps by the EU to find a comprehensive solution to the crisis. The United States is going to continue to do its part in many different ways. And I'm proud to say that we lead the world in refugee resettlement, as well as in the financial contributions to the UNHCR. Now, recently, I started a working group here at the State Department under the leadership of Deputy Secretary Tony Blinken to develop additional options that we can present to the interagency and the international community. And we're going to have more to say about the ideas that that effort is generating shortly. We're also considering ways that we can increase overall refugee resettlement numbers. And as you know, President Obama just announced that for fiscal year 2016, the United States will bring in at least an additional 10,000 refugees from Syria. These are important measures, and as I said, we will likely take additional steps in the next days. I also think it's just as important that we remember the root cause of this crisis. And I will, the principal impetus for this mass exodus of human beings is the utter brutality of the Assad regime and the absence of any sense of hope or possibility of a safe future that people now feel after these years of conflict in Syria. This has fed one of the greatest extremist threats anywhere on the planet, and the scope and the the scope and the scale of the conflict that still rages in Syria itself. That's why we have put together an international coalition of more than 60 countries to degrade and ultimately defeat ISIL, which is a terrorist organization, nothing more, which continues to murder and maim innocent Iraqis, Syrians, people of one religious belief or another, people of one sectarian membership or another, and they kill at random for the purpose solely of achieving their power and forcing on people their choice of lifestyle. They have adopted rape not just as an instrument of war, but as a method of life. They have cut off heads at random, shot people in the back of the head, destroyed cultural and historical sites, and clearly have demonstrated a ruthlessness, a level of depravity that is shocking to everybody. They have to be defeated, and we recognize that. And the war in Syria must come to a close in order to deal with the crisis of refugees and of life, where 3/4 of a nation has literally been rendered into displaced person status. That mission cannot succeed through military action alone. We understand that. And that's why we continue to work so hard to try to find a political solution to the conflict, one that leads to a transition inside Syria towards a government that can be responsive to the needs of the Syrian people and bring peace and stability and unify Syria and keep it as a secular, single country. And that's why I am communicating so closely with my counterparts in the region, in Western Europe and Russia, because the answers do not lie in expanding a conflict, but in cooperation and in dialogue and in finding a way forward. This weekend, I'll be traveling to Europe for consultations with key partners on this and on other topics. And I spoke to Foreign Minister Lavrov again yesterday, the third time in less than a week. I made clear that Russia's continued support for Assad risks escalating the conflict and undermining our shared goal of fighting extremism if we do not also remain focused on finding the political solution. I also reaffirmed our commitment to fight ISIL with the coalition now in place, and that indeed we would welcome a constructive role by Russia in that effort. I also stressed that continued military support for the regime by Russia or by any other country risks undermining the security of Syria, attracting more extremists to the fight, and hinders the possibility of future cooperation toward a successful transition, unless done in an effective and constructive way. President Obama has been clear. There is no military solution to the overall conflict in Syria, only a political one. And I believe the opportunity still exists to achieve that goal with Russia's help, should they be willing to contribute in a meaningful way.